G'day, welcome to Oly35mm, user-based, quasi-empirical, cheap and cheerful videos on Olympus cameras and other things. And the other things today, or the other thing I want to talk about, is Olympus Zuiko lenses. This is the Zuiko brand, is the Olympus brand of lenses. And I personally, with the exception of one lens, I don't actually own any other brands. The great thing about Zuiko lenses, of course, is these days is they've been devalued in a lot of cases, and for us buyers, it's a bit of a market to be able to pull out a really good lens at a very, very reasonable price. Now, you may have heard me, if you've seen any of my other videos, bang on about my all-time favourite lens and camera combination. Now, if I was to only ever have one camera body and one lens, it would be this, the Olympus OM1 and the Zuiko 50mm f1.4. The OM1 was my very first camera video, and I thought it was only fitting to take its soulmate up and put it in front of the camera for the very first lens video. And hopefully my entire range of lenses I'll be able to do a review on. That's certainly the plan anyway, but at the very least I'll get them up on my Flickr page for you to actually have a look at. So before we go any further, I'd like to just share something with you about the Olympus lens numbering system. Excuse me. You might notice here it says Zuiko on the front of the lens. Now the older lenses, and in the case of the 50mm f1.4, probably pre-1984, they used to actually have a letter designation in front of the Zuiko, and the letter corresponded to the letter of the alphabet for the amount of elements that were actually in the lens. And in this case there's 7 elements in 6 groups, so it would have been a G dash, I think it is G dash Zuiko lens. Now, this gives you an idea as a collector or as a buyer, user, I hope you use these things rather than just collect them, that you'll probably get you won't get a multi-coated lens. So I hope you factor that into the justification for the buying price, if that's the case. Okay, so that's enough about that. The other thing about Zuiko lenses, at least sort of from the 21 through to anything up to about 200 millimeters in their prime lenses, and a lot of their zooms as well, they tended to be either 49mm filter thread or 55mm filter thread, which was fantastic. Means you only had to have 2 lots of filters rather than a whole big pile of them. So that was also another good thing about the nice thing about the Olympus lenses. So the 50mm f1.4, comparable lenses of the day in other brands were quite often f2, and this is a stop faster. Now, I have to be honest with you here, this isn't the lowest end of the 50mm. That Guernsey goes to the little 50mm f1.8. I'll try and bring it over here so it stays in focus. Now, you can pick those up for about, a good one's probably about $80, $80 to $100. And in its own right, it's a lovely little lens. So don't discount that one by any means. But this particular one is a stop faster than the f2 lenses and of the day, and it's still very, very sharp, even wide open at f1.4. Now, the 50mm f1.4 and the 50mm f1.8 have a superb colour rendition, and they're actually used by Olympus to actually measure their other lenses as well. So if it's good enough for Olympus, it's good enough for me, as far as I'm concerned. Love the f1.8 as well. As I've said, it's a very nice little lens in its own right, but the f1.4 is, in my mind, the ultimate in size versus weight versus price. You can get a 50mm f1.2, a 55mm f1.2, a 40mm f2, but they all command premium prices. This one you should see for about 150 to 200 Australian dollars. So I bought mine in about the middle of that. I had it for about 6 years. This is in beautiful condition, and I'm very lucky in it, and I certainly wouldn't part with it. Okay, so as I said, f1.4, the actual aperture range of the 8-bladed diaphragm is f1.4 through to f16. I'll see if I can bring it up so you can actually see the f16. And it's click stops. So one click stop for them. 7 elements in 6 groups, as I said before. It's 230 grams. It's about 40 millimeters long. Takes the 49 millimeter filters, as I said before, and it focuses down to about 45 centimeters, which is about 18 inches in the old money. So all in all, it's a great lens. I've got a previous video on 50mm standard lenses and spoken a little bit about their angle of view. This is a 46-degree angle of view, so it's very close to what your eye is used to seeing or sort of focusing on, even though the eyes between the two of them can sort of see almost about 180 degrees. We really only focus on that middle part. So when you take photographs with this and you look at them afterwards, they just look right. So I personally believe that everybody should have a 50mm in their case, either 50mm f1.8. If you want to, if you love your macro, maybe the 50mm f3.5. Or the 50mm f1.4. All are excellent value, and if you're like me, you're a collector and you got all three, well then that's a bonus as well. And it's it's the three of them are actually still cheaper than buying a 50mm f1.2. Okay then, so that's it. I'll put some photographs on the end of this so you can see the marvelous lens that it is. And I hope you enjoyed the video, so thank you for listening. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.